welcome to Good Troublemakers yet again, and I've got two wonderful good troublemakers right here sitting at this table today, so you will not be disappointed. I'm Paki Wieland, the facilitator, so-called, of this meeting, and for those of you who haven't tuned in before, we call it Good Troublemakers in honor of the wonderful Representative John Lewis, who coined that phrase and said, "Go out and make good trouble." And so these two people did it. And who are these two people? They are Ferd Wolkin and Pixie Holbrook from FCCPR, the Franklin County Continuing Political Revolution. So it's that good, what is it? CPR. Yes. Okay, so welcome. And I don't know if many of our viewers are aware of what Franklin County CPR is. And so I'd like you to start by giving a little history of how you came to be, and then we'll talk about all the good deeds you've been doing, all the good trouble you've been raising and will be raising in the future.
You've been there longer.
Okay. So FCCPR, as we like to call it, emerged out of the Bernie Sanders for President campaign the first time he ran in 2016. There was a lot of people in Franklin County who worked on that campaign or supported him. In fact, in the primary, Bernie got over 70% of the vote. And I'm not sure if that was in Franklin County or in Greenfield.
Wow.
And those of us who were organizing for Bernie felt like, win or lose, we want to keep this going, that there's going to be organizing to do. And frankly, at the time, we thought, well, Hillary's probably going to win, and we're going to need to push her from the left. Huh. Didn't quite work out that way, but FCCPR did emerge out of that and has continued ever since as a multi-issue organization. And part of the theory was that there are lots of groups here doing really good work on all sorts of issues. But what we didn't have was sort of a multi-issue group, a group that found the connections between all these groups and could build coalitions and could keep organizing around progressive values.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're almost 10 years old, or I mean, not you, but FCCPR.
I wish.
So this organization is 10 years old now.
Getting almost 10. Yeah, we should have a party.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So how did you get involved with this group?
We have a coordinating committee, and I was on it for a while. Got off it, but I always was on the education task force. So that would be important to add, is that we've broken down into these various task forces. And if you'll help me, for climate change, reproductive justice, peace, education, Medicare for all. I think that's one of them. And then we added, like in January, we added immigration rights task force.
Yes.
And I was consistently on the education task force, fighting to get rid of the MCAS, thank you very much.
Yes.
We have more work to do.
Yes.
But also trying to get progressive school committee members into Greenfield. And we successfully, over the years, got 5 wonderful people. A couple have had their time, and we're going to be busy. When is election in Greenfield?
Next week.
Getting our slate of candidates as well.
Yeah. So I love this notion of how you started. You know, certainly people were Berniacs all over the country, but you all continued, and became an organization, not just like Antifada. You know, you're a real organization.
Yeah. We're a real organization with a coordinating committee, and we have dues. So we have dues-paying members, and we thought that was really important, that people make a certain commitment. It's very little. It's like $10 a year. So it's not a big lift, but it shows a commitment. And so the number of members has risen and fallen over the years, and at this point it's somewhere over 200. Yeah. And we have a mailing list of about 1,600.
Wow. Yeah. So you came together to support Bernie, thought that you would help push the Democratic Party to the left, and I think that's probably still something you're trying to do.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But so then you form these different committees, and you've got a steering committee, or
Yeah, we call it the coordinating
the
committee.
coordinating
Yeah.
committee.
We also meet quarterly at something we call our GA, our General Assembly, and that's open to the public. And lately we're getting like 75 to 100 people that are coming.
Or more, yeah.
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 Well, just as just for a little transparency,
Yeah.
I've moved to Franklin County, so I can now be part of the FCCPR, and I finally got to a meeting because your General Assemblies, I know about those from Occupy days, and I'm glad you've got a General Assembly.
That's right.
And it was I got to the last one, and I was really pleased to be there. I also appreciate that you've got these standing committees, but then, immigration became a big issue, and so you all expanded and started an immigration task force.
That's right.
Thanks a lot to Pixie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it just was pretty evident.
Yeah.
Nothing had started quite, but we all knew it was pending. And it was a matter of two things, learning. But the biggest thing is doing. And this is what anybody that I encounter, they want to know, what can I do? And so I felt some satisfaction in doing something, which was to form the task force. And one of the first things we did, I think we have about 20 now, and 8 people come to meetings every other Thursday. We have them online. But the very first thing, or one of the first things we did, was we created 1,500 Know Your Rights cards.
Yes.
Again, with the generosity from FCCPR, we printed them up, and we printed them in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole, because we do have a lot of families that came here. Remember, they went to the Days Inn
Yes.
about several years ago now, but they've all had to leave there, and they are in the area. So we distribute them in laundromats and health centers, libraries, various offices. That was one of the first things we did. And it just gave you a lot of satisfaction to say, oh, there's something we can do, not just watch the news and be in pain, which is what they want.
Yes.
They want us to be so in despair. And this group is going, nope, not happening.
And I think part of that, and correct me if there's more, is the whole sense of community, that's what we are.
Yes.
Whether it's part of the Stopping ICE or the Immigration Task Force, the reproductive rights, the peace, whatever it is, we've got the smaller groups, but we also know that we're part of a much larger community of resistance.
And that's been really important, that somebody might be particularly interested in education and like, okay, I don't necessarily want to do all these other things. There's a place for that person. And then when the Education Task Force needs support, like, we got to get these candidates elected,
Yes.
or we need to fight the MCAS, the task force can come to the organization as a whole. And that's part of the power and the beauty of the way the organization is structured.
I love that, Ferd, because one of the things that I rant on about, obviously I rant.
We hope so.
But one of them is, and I was at one of the rallies early on, and I looked around and I saw these different signs, reproductive rights, peace, Israel, and I thought, there is nothing that is not my issue. I'm not the education person, but when you're doing something, you're doing it on our behalf.
Oh, indeed.
And because we can't go to most of us, or many of us, can't go to meetings every night of the week, but we can support you. And my call to folks was, as you look around and you see these different signs, I don't think we have the luxury of saying, oh, that's not my issue. Because they're all connected at the roots.
Indeed.
And we often talk about connecting the dots, but I think it's also important to connect the roots, because that's where they are. It's the same roots that spring up to create ICE or MCAST, or it's an authoritarian streak.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing, and I'm so happy to be in Franklin County, to be a part of the club.
We're happy you're here.
and to hear what you all are doing and what you've already done. I mean, I'm sure you were some of the people who really pushed to end this MCAST. I mean, we think about how many years we have fought against MCAST.
25.
25
That's
years.
when I started, right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a group of
Wow.
us here in Western Mass, and there was a very large, powerful group out east, and we got so much done out here that they called us the wild women of Western Massachusetts, so we feel very special.
Well, and you are. I mean, there's something about this valley that's just amazing. I don't quite get it. I don't know what the antecedents are, what the chemistry was. But I sometimes I think, okay, so we are the poorest county in the Commonwealth, and yet we have the most spunk, or as much spunk as anybody else.
Yeah. And the recent MCAS campaign was really led by a lot of different groups, but particularly the Mass Teachers Association.
Yes.
And so having labor, we used to actually have a labor task force, which has kind of fallen by the wayside, at least for now. But we try to link with the labor movement as much as possible. And so at the most recent No Kings rally, the keynote speaker was the president of the Mass Teachers. And that's, I think, been really important to have that connection.
And for those of you who missed hearing him, he was really great.
He was.
I really appreciated hearing everything he had to say. And my daughter, who was with me at the rally, was very happy as an MTA member to hear him. Because I think, some of us know him or hear him variously, but he's, it was great that you had him. So thanks for getting him to be the keynote speaker. Yeah. So yes, 25 years. And it's really important to keep that in mind. I was saying, well, so FCCPR, Franklin County Continuing Political Revolution, is almost 10 years old. And it's a reminder that instant coffee is just an illusion. There's no, it's a beverage. It's not really coffee. And I think it's the same thing about our revolutions, or the change we want to see. If it happens when you pour the hot water in it, I love that, I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, women are like tea bags, when you get them in hot water, they really come alive.
I never heard that.
No. Excellent.
And I think, it's not just women, but certainly, the populace, people who, those of us who are WOKE, or awake.
I'm proud of it.
And really, yes, and so I know. Right now we're in such a crisis in this country. I was at a meeting a few months ago, and we were just feeling the first effects of this administration's behavior. And a woman said, a Caucasian woman, middle class, who was a great woman, activist, and she said, I don't think it's ever been worse. There were some Native Americans with us who said, I beg to differ, it has been worse. And I think it's really important for us to note, what we have already overcome. There are no longer boarding schools. Yeah. There are no, change has come, and it was worse. Our African American brothers and sisters, siblings, God, it has been worse for them. And this administration is trying to go back to making it worse. But thanks to groups like FCCPR and people who can come together to resist, because I think that's really the clarion call. It is to resist, however you do it, going to the school committee meetings, going to wherever you go, and to realize that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think, we were talking about earlier, what are some of the things that the administration, as it becomes more authoritarian, wants us to do is to give up. And I think our greatest strength is one another.
Yeah.
About the overpasses.
Tell us about the overpass.
Yeah, that's another place of community. That's what I was thinking about, which is that the certain days of the month, we're in flux right now because of time change, but we've been doing the fourth Friday of the month. And in CPR does 7, I think we're 7 overpasses over 91 where we stand out for about an hour and a half. And that what happened was, I think maybe the first or second ones that were coordinated with that group, Connecticut people said, oh, could we do it too? The Windsor Locks, and then it spread on down to southern Connecticut. And then people in Brattleboro went, oh, could we do it too? And so we've made it up, I think, mid-state Vermont. Yeah. I don't think we've made it quite to the Canadian border yet, because there's not a lot of highways that go past. And it's just, I monitor the one on 116 down in Deerfield. And there are people that had no idea what FCCPR was, which was wonderful. And we have sign-up sheets there when we're there. And people that just have not stepped out in public before, and it feels like a safe way. And then you look around, and there's 25 to 30 of you. And the cars have been fantastic. I think somebody said in an hour and a half, we might be exposing ourselves to as many as 2,000 cars. And there we are, just standing there with beautiful banners people have made for us. And my personal favorite is when the big tractor trailers beep at us.
I know. Brings you back to childhood.
You're standing over them, as things are passing. But everybody's cheering. Again, they're looking around going, I'm not alone. This is a community of people who feel the way I do.
Yes.
And if you can do that once a month, fantastic. Fantastic.
And I think it's an example of, this is something I've just started thinking about, that the time we're in right now, so many more people are doing things they've never done before and getting active in these ways, that it's this opportunity to build a center-left coalition, or something that's bigger than the left and that includes a lot more people. And how we do it, I don't know exactly, but I think in all the organizing we do, we have to be careful that we're not just preaching to the choir, and that we're being really welcoming to people who maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable going to a rally or doing a stand out. And I think that's happening. And I think we can be a little more self-conscious about doing that.
That's a great point, because I know I've been to a number of demonstrations variously between Northampton and here in Greenfield, and seen people I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know everybody, but I know lots of activists, and I think, oh my God, I'm so happy that these are not familiar faces. I love to see my beautiful familiar faces.
Right.
But it's really been amazing to me. And but at this last No Kings, in both places, there were people who have not been out before.
Right. And the age spread now.
Yes.
We were all talking back in January, February, March, and we're looking over at all of us with our white hair and saying, how do we get the young people? But I think the No Kings had a frolic experience that made people feel comfortable coming with their children, and then the costumes started showing up, and there was joy shared, across the whole country. It was so consistent. It was very exciting, but it drew in a lot of younger people. That was a big benefit.
It certainly has been, and it's interesting the way we've been portrayed by the mainstream media and the right-wing media. That we were going to, the people who hate America, rather than the way I identify myself is I love this country because it has aspirations. It has promise. I mean, God, don't take my First Amendment away.
Right.
But I think and so we were going to have all this violence, and You know, we were all going to be marching with hammers and sickles.
Yeah.
and it didn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and it,
Lots
I
of
mean, it
flags.
didn't happen anywhere.
Anywhere. That's what's so
You know,
what's
it was
striking.
so wonderful.
It was so eager to go home and turn on the news and say everywhere had the same feel. It was
Yes.
wonderful.
Yeah. So I think that is the question. So we've got, you know, millions of people who showed up, you know, millions back in June, millions in October.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the question. And I think one of the things that it's important about FCCPR is it's got to happen locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, between getting good people on the school board,
Yeah.
in the city councils, who are, you know, I mean, we have to harken back to our good old Tip O'Neill. You know, it is local. All politics is local.
That was one of the mantras that came out of Bernie, too, which was
Yes.
top down doesn't work.
Right.
We had to do bottom up.
Yes.
And that's when we quickly set our sights on boards of education.
On doing, yes, because, you know, the right has already been aware of that.
Absolutely.
You know? And so I think it's really incumbent on us to do it, and we are doing it. And, you know, so it's not, you know, it's that think globally and act locally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, eat locally, act locally. You know, and as we're going into this particularly troublesome time ahead, that we need one another more than ever. And but I'm curious. I want to go back to your different groups. You said the reproductive rights group.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so they're active in trying to restore reproductive rights.
And just recently they had the Turnaway?
Turnaway play.
Turnaway play was a fundraiser. I'm not as familiar with it, so I'm struggling a little bit. What's the group that
It's for a group called MAP,
Thank
M-A-P, which stands for, I'm not sure the A is abortion, but it's basically for people to be able to send abortion drugs across state lines.
Uh-huh.
So that group has done a bunch of amazing fundraising. And
they did it with some culture. It was a play, and you know, between the bringing out the brass bands to play when we're protesting,
Yeah.
Doing theater, I think that's really important too. You know, that we celebrate our resistance. You
celebrate and tap into people's emotions. 'Cause,
Yes.
you know, different people grow and change in different ways, and we need to be in all these different places because it's not a one-size-fits-all movement.
Right. Yeah. So we have, and I think about that, and when we would talk, you were talking about the play, and I thought, yes, the importance of culture, and I thought about the Chileans and their celebration through culture, through music. And you know, we've now got these people here between Anne Louise White and her teaching people to sing protest songs and bringing people together to sing protest songs, and then this West County group that is also doing it. You know, that we realize that, you know, and some of us are old enough who remember the good years of singing, you know, with the protest songs during Vietnam and beyond.
Right.
And we're bringing it back, more songs.
And we've been really pushed by some of our members to be sure that we incorporate music into not just the rallies, but also our General Assembly meetings. Doesn't have to be a big part, but it needs to be a part.
Yes, doesn't need to be a concert, but...
And I think you and I met as Raging Grannies.
That's
many
right,
years ago.
yes, that's right.
That is so much fun. You get to say
Yeah.
things in public that you might not say otherwise. Very satisfying.
Yeah, one of the more popular songs right now is "Now You've Pissed Off Grandma."
Good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've got this the reproductive rights that is it's not just meeting to talk, but you talk about, the problem now with so many women, so many pregnant people who need to have medicine, and it's not available in some states. And those are some of the good troubles that the CPR does.
Yes.
To raise these issues. I mean, imagine. I mean, it's unfathomable to me how fast things have turned around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we need to be aware, but also not just to get together to talk, to stand on the corner, but to take action.
Yeah.
And that's what CPR does.
And to support other groups that are taking action that might be better positioned than we are. We can't necessarily be everywhere and do everything.
Yes.
I have a good example of just what Ferd said, which is with the Immigration Task Force, one of the first things I personally did was to look around who else is already here.
Yes.
And it was so satisfying to find out these very committed groups of people. And one of them is, they have the same long name that we have, and they've condensed it into Wieland. And I'm going to try to say it's Western Mass, help me, Immigration Legislative Activist Network. I think I'm close to that. But the point is that their specialty is legislation, and they know so much about legislation that's current, what we need to enforce, what we need to shift, how they're changing, who's passing which bills, who's supporting which bills. And so they offer us so much information, and then we're doing some other things that they turn to us and say, so what are you folks doing? And Indivisible Northampton has a group called Protecting Vulnerable Communities, and that being trans, disabled, and immigrants.
Yes.
So then there's another subgroup under immigrants. I attend that meeting, once a month. So we're all learning from each other. There's no reason not to. But having certain specialties has been a big help. Today, we met with Marky's staff, virtual, with the Wieland group, and I joined them. And we talked to staff in Springfield, one in Boston, and one in D.C. And the other day we did Warren's office, and the week before McGovern's. But that was what their specialty is, and it's so helpful.
Yes.
They're teaching me, and then I can reciprocally teach them. It's wonderful.
It's so wonderful. You did not have to reinvent the wheel.
It's all there.
It's there, and it's and fortunately, thanks to lots of things, including these media things, we're able to find these other groups.
Indeed. Right.
And to say, so what are you doing? I know that the Greenfield Human Rights Commission has taken on doing some work with single payer. With health care, but didn't have to be the lead because there is a statewide organization. And to plug in and to have them celebrate that, more people are here. So,
and I didn't scratch the surface. I mean, there's at least 6 or 8 that we work with, JAIJ, Mount Toby Quakers. The eagerness to form communities is so exciting.
Yes.
And at the same time, members of our coordinating committee are all active, not just in FCCPR, but in other organizations, and brings that synthesis.
Tell them about what Dave Cohen's doing.
So what is Dave Cohen doing?
He is the
Who is this Dave Cohen, and what is he doing?
He's one of our coordinating committee members.
Longtime labor activist, has been active in the single-payer movement, and is now the co-chair of the statewide group called Mass Care, which is the single-payer organization. So he brings an organizing perspective and a labor perspective to that work, and brings the single-payer work into FCCPR. And a good example, we did this a few years ago and might do it again, figuring out and helping town clerks figure out how much money would your town save if we had single payer. And doing the math, having a worksheet where people can actually do the math. And we did this with, I don't know, a dozen towns. I don't remember exactly one. There was one that was breaking even. I think it was Sunderland. Every other town would save money. Greenfield, there was some astronomical amount.
Well, and you did this when, Ferd?
A couple of years ago.
You know, because now with this raise of 38%, almost across the board, at least in Western Mass, how much does do you pay would really just be off the charts, and that's what people need to see.
Yeah.
You know,
and it was our single payer group that sort of developed this worksheet and went to different towns, but that then became a model that other groups in other parts of the state could pick up on that.
Oh, great! Yes, I mean that's the other thing that's so wonderful. And I know, we're using social media to our advantage too. I mean, you talk about the meeting this morning that couldn't have happened without Zoom. That it's so useful, and yet one of the things we absolutely love is when we get together live and in person.
Three-dimensional. It's very exciting. Ferd in 3D.
Yes. So you've got this healthcare labor. So what else is labor doing,
So the labor group hasn't been doing very much lately. If any time that there's a strike or a significant labor action, we know we can call people together and support people on picket lines and so forth. But it's not a standing task force in the way that some of the others are. Yeah.
So you've got the immigration task force and
education.
What is education? So you've won, but not quite everything you want.
Oh no, it wasn't just about the MCAS fight. Yeah. Again, it's that idea of bottom up. So we are looking very carefully and promoting, as I said, a slate of people this time, which we did before as well. And people are tabling, they're knocking on doors, getting out there, making the phone calls, and it's just, I'm trying to think what more, that's the most recent that we've been working on. Go ahead.
Yeah, the chair of that committee is Doug Selwyn, who is on our coordinating committee, and he's gotten himself a monthly column in the Greenfield Recorder on education issues. So we've got that forum there. And so the other thing that group's working on is, now that MCAS is not there as a graduation requirement, the state, DESE is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the governor have put together a committee, a commission to say, okay, so what's going to take the place of MCAS? And the MTA, the Mass Teachers Association, and a group called Citizens for Public Schools got together very quickly and said, wait a second, they're going to come out with something really crappy. It's going to be MCAS by another name, which in fact is turning out to be true. They haven't issued their final report yet, but they're moving in that direction. So this group, led a lot by Doug, has been holding forums all around the state with stakeholders, parents, teachers, administrators, community members, around the question of what should our students know or be able to do when they graduate high school, and what are the obstacles, and how do we get there? And so there have been a half dozen of these forums. The one here was virtual. Most of them were in person. And they've all had between 50 to 100 or 150 people at them. So that's going to generate a progressive report as to what should happen with MCAS.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
And the second question, I think, was how would we measure those things that we want for our students to have by the time they graduate? So it was really powerful conversations that we're having all over the place. It's really great.
This is really good. So it's happening in Franklin County, but it's happening throughout the Commonwealth?
Statewide.
Oh, that is really wonderful.
Ours was the only one, I think, that was virtual, right?
Yeah, the others were all in person.
Yeah.
Several in Boston and Southeast Mass and Lowell, I forget where all of them were.
Bedford.
I mean, I look at students today, and I have no envy. Oh my God! I think what the world they're living in, the demands that are made of them, the invitation to just let AI do everything for you.
Yeah.
The world that young people are growing up into is so uncertain.
Yep.
and to have this additional burden instead of really re-emphasizing the critical thinking, or what kind of world do we want to have, back to the tests, you know. So this is heartening, and viewers, I hope you're heartened too to see this, that all is not lost.
It is not.
You know?
It is not.
So we've got the education, the health care,
reproductive justice,
immigration. So is that all you're doing? For goodness
sake? You know, I do want to add something about the immigration task force, which is the Rapid Response Network. So it was brought up, explained in its earliest stages. We got 800 people to sign on to become part of the Rapid Response Network. And that was pretty much only Franklin County.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Pretty amazing. And then we pause and go, okay, what does that all mean? And so what it now means is it comes in a relationship with a statewide organization called LUCE. I want to emphasize LUCE. It's not Lucy. It's not Luce.
It's spelled L-U-C-E.
But it's LUCE, which is Spanish for light. So that's a statewide organization, and it helps us verify whether ICE is in the area or not, because we don't want to say, I think I saw ICE, and have a bunch of people show up. So we have trained verifiers of our own here who had nonviolent training. We have a big emphasis on nonviolence. So what happens is we are, should have brought the phone number here so I could hold it up to the camera, but look on our website under Immigration Rights Task Force. Very predominantly you'll see the LUCE phone number. So if one were to see the LUCE, or rather if they saw ICE, and it's often earlier in the morning, they would then make that phone call to LUCE to say, would you send verifiers? So if there was somebody that was seen in Agawam, you know, well, let's take where we are, but if someone were suspected they saw someone in Deerfield, they would make that call, and then LUCE would identify verifiers in the Deerfield area that would go. They are not there to confront, but they're there to respond and interact with the ICE people. We're not asking neighbors to come and link arms, and we want to keep it as peaceful. We don't want children traumatized. Will it stop the deportation, or rather the detainment? Likely not, but it would be done in a very civil, nonviolent way. And then we would enact the activate the Rapid Response Network within hours or a day to have a massive demonstration to call attention to what just happened. And the closest we've come, knocking on wood, was one in April, I think it was, or March. There were 2 detained in Amherst. So our Rapid Response Network was a group that several hundred people came to the Common and had speakers. And so we're just trying to get this out there, to have these verifiers to please take a look at that LUCE number so we can respond. In that, again, knocking on wood, we've not had a lot of detainment. The other thing now that the different Rapid Response Network is doing is fundraising, because people have been impacted. They are afraid to send their children to school. You know, we've got people that'll drive the kids to school. They have legal needs. They have food needs, because perhaps and likely that was a spouse that was a breadwinner. So fundraisers are very, very important. One is coming up on Saturday in Shelburne Falls at the Shelburne Buckland Community Center. I believe that's what it's called. And Ronnie Arbo and Daisy Mayhem have donated the whole evening to us, and we are going to have a concert and push the chairs aside and dance. So I highly recommend
Emma
it.
Goldman would
I
be
was going to
proud.
say, Emma, where are you?
There you go. Yeah. So, you know, just very exciting how quickly, it was just a matter of 2 or 3 weeks that we got 800 people say, I want a part of this. Very exciting.
Yeah.
I'll mention one other thing that's related, which has to do with Avello Airlines, which our
Yes.
viewers may not be that familiar with. Avello is a low-cost commercial airline that has a contract with ICE to fly detained people who are being deported. And so there's been a movement around the country to try to change that and to try to get Avello to pull back and cancel its contract, and to put some pressure on airports that they shouldn't allow Avello to fly until they break their ties with ICE. And we just had a victory, small victory, which is that Bradley Airport, where Avello has been flying out of, Avello is pulled out now. We had a big demonstration down by the airport a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. And people have been writing letters and making phone calls and trying to badger the airport commission. And so we don't know exactly how this happened, but Avello announced they're pulling out. The airport commission says they're very disappointed there, and they're upset with Avello now for pulling out, because Avello was the only direct flights to the Caribbean out of Bradley were Avello Airlines, with one exception. There's one flight a week to Puerto Rico by a different airline.
Avello left California as well.
Yes.
That's what was our encouragement to try it here.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's really good news.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean that's one of the things, and I know our viewers, I hope, are heartened by this too. That we have demonstrations. We talked about the number of horns that blow and things when you're on the overpass, but to see that you could turn this big airline away is really something. I want to harken back to Saul Alinsky, who said, we have to have some victories.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that we have. I mean, we could say, yes, one victory was how many millions of people showed up last week.
7 million.
But that's different from actually
yes,
making a change.
Yes, from actually making that change.
And I think when people are asking what's next, what do we do now?
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm not going to give you a very complete answer, but one piece of it has to be economic pressure on those institutions that prop up the Trump administration, whether that's universities or airlines or whatever. So I think we're going to see more in the way of boycotts. I know there's a group in Northampton that's right now talking about doing some campaign around Home Depot. Home Depot has allowed ICE to use their parking lots. I don't know about Northampton, but in other places, and have been big contributors to right-wing organizations.
And day laborers, that's...
that's one of the places.
And we're not sure we have that in our area, but that was one of the things that ignited this idea.
Yeah, very good.
So we may or may not get involved with a Home Depot campaign, but it's the kind of thing that we need to be looking for, targets of organizations that prop up the administration.
Well, and then of course there's Amazon. And, and I think, I mean, there's so many people who say, well, yeah, but, and I think, we lived without Amazon before. We could live without Amazon now.
Right.
And I know cutting myself off from that was really, I mean, it's arduous. It took hours to, and it wasn't even an Amazon thing. It was an audio book thing that I had used and didn't use for months, and I kept getting charged, and I thought, well, I need to get out of this. And I didn't realize even that that audiobooks is a subsidiary of Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
No, it's but I think it is an important thing, because that is the one of the questions. Okay, so we had 7 million people out. So now what? And there are people who say, well, general strike, but that's not coming soon. However, there are these other things, these boycotts or even calling out, these organizations, these
we think that that's what
corporations.
turned the Jimmy Kimmel event around, too, was people cutting their subscriptions and things.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Disney got a little message, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know?
So that makes it really important that we're positioned so that when people come to a big rally or do something they haven't done before, that we capture their information so that we can be back in touch with them. So now we're finally starting, when we go to these overpass actions, we come with clipboards. So we can say, if you're not on our mailing list, you'd come on the mailing list. And it's not so much to build the organization, but to make it possible for those connections to last and to develop into future actions.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big things that I'm just really heartened by is what you're doing with immigration. You know, and I'll ask you both, what's your favorite ICE joke?
I'll share the one that I said earlier, which was that there's a Latino comedian that came on stage, and she starts by greeting, and then she goes over to a pitcher of water that is just a pitcher of water, and in front of everyone she pours it in. And she walks over to the stage and she said, "I hate ice." So they're having fun with that.
Well, have you got one?
No, but there's been a lot around melting ice.
Yes.
Yes, or do you want crushed ice?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And the other day I was at a meeting and someone said, "I like my whiskey neat, no ice."
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah, we have to be able to have a giggle every once in a while.
and I know, and I think this is part of the subtler, wonderful cultural things we do. So,
if I can mention one other
sure,
thing, it's
please.
Not directly related, but FCCPR also belongs to a number of statewide organizations that we're loosely affiliated with. Indivisible, Our Revolution Massachusetts, Progressive Massachusetts. I'm sure I'm leaving out the single payer group. And that lets us learn from what other groups are doing, and other groups are learning from us. They think we're the best.
Well, it sounds, I mean, you're impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, so some of the things we've talked about that we've done, like the overpasses and some of the Velo stuff, other groups are picking up on what we've done. And so belonging to larger, more geographically diverse groups is really helpful.
Yeah. Because, you know, we talked earlier about, you know, the thinking locally or acting locally, and so we're acting here in Franklin County, and they're acting there in Middlesex County, and they're in Bristol, and all these different places, and then we hear about what another is doing, and we say, oh my God, you know, it's not just us,
Right.
and that's more community building, you know.
An area that I want to move forward in and trying to understand better came from, you know, an email from my cousin who heard about it in California, which is to help support or create virtual asylum-seeking appointments so that you don't have to walk into a courtroom where ICE is sitting there in the waiting room ready to take you. So it was done during COVID. That's how they did it. So there's a system in place.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we're going to be working on to see. I'm not sure where they take place in Franklin County. Maybe they don't. Maybe they go to Springfield. I don't know. But irregardless, why couldn't they be done virtually so they're not exposed to the public that way?
I know. I just saw someone on a news program yesterday, I think, you know, where the man was just going in to do his due diligence.
Exactly.
And they start not just harassing him, but physically attacking him. And I thought, you know, this is not my country. You know, So I mean, but to go back to your, this is not exactly what we're talking about. It is, you know, it really is, because if we don't and I think this is one of the good things, the values of this conversation, is to let people know that there's a big organization here in Franklin County, FCCPR, but you're also connected to these other places and other people, so that there is a whole movement across the whole Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And it's really important for people to know that. And then, we go beyond the Commonwealth to all of New England and beyond. So I think it's really, I keep overusing heartening, but it really is, it gives us courage. Mm-hmm. I think that's the other word, it's that people need courage. And I was at a meeting the other night, and I said, I think, this is true confession, I don't think I got the fear gene. And
I've known you long enough, that's true.
But and I was with someone who said, well, help me, because I've got one or more. Yeah. And I was thinking about, again, I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, even when you're afraid, or who is it, Bell Hooks, or some one of those wonderful voices of women past, who said, even if you're afraid, even if your voice is trembling, speak. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That if you're fearful, you still need to be there. And if you're fearful, know that I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And that you're not alone.
Courage is contagious is a sign I've seen
like that.
That's a
times.
good
like
one.
that.
Yes, yeah. yes. And you don't get it by coughing, It's airborne.
Yeah.
Now, I have a couple of more questions for you. So you're doing these wonderful things. Not just wonderful, but really monumental. We're moving. We're with resistance, and so we had this big rally, thousands of people here. What next? What next? Do the people who aren't ready to join one of your groups, one of the working groups, what else? What can people do who maybe wrote the letter and said, we got to go check this protest
What
out.
about the Monday meeting?
Yeah, so we're trying to figure that out, and I feel like we're a little bit behind on that. So one thing we're trying is we've just put in our newsletter, which goes to 1,600 people. If you want to learn more about FCCPR, we're going to have a 1-hour orientation. What's it all about this coming Monday? We've got, I think, 16 people signed up, and so we're going to have a conversation. We'll tell them a little about FCCPR, but also, what's your interest? What's your skill? What's your passion? And so we'll see where that goes. Another thing we've talked about, what became clear at the big No Kings rally is we need help just on logistics, right? We need a better sound system. We need people who can be peacekeepers. We need people who can circulate with clipboards. And that we just need to build up, I don't want a stable, I guess you'd call it, of people who aren't necessarily going to join a committee or go to a lot of meetings, but they're available to help with particular projects.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to work in that direction.
Yeah. Franklin County Fair, we did a great job there, but we would have been helpful to have a few more people to help us carry the awnings and
we had a booth at the
during the rain.
We had a booth at the,
it was more than a rain, it was the estimation of a tornado. That went well.
Right.
But it was fun having a booth at the Franklin County Fair and
yes.
having sort of some props, some gizmos to attract people, particularly attracting kids. And they would come play with our...
Tell her what the gizmo was.
So the
What was
gizmo
your
was
gizmo?
a big wheel that you could spin, had a pointer, and you spin it and it makes a clickety, 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 clickety. Where's it going to land? And then it lands on something that is like an issue. It might land on education or healthcare or whatever. And so then people would get a piece of literature, but they would also get a little prize. And one of our members, Molly Cantor, is a potter. She made these little discs, these little tokens in her pottery studio So ones with a heart went with health care, and I can't even remember, a butterfly went with immigration and so forth. So it would attract the kids, and then we would chat with the parents. Or the, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I would say it was...
Starting with Molly and her
Right. She did that the day before the fair.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's wonderful. She's on our committee as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was worth it, but I would say just barely worth it. But it's the kind of thing that we could do a lot more of if we were a little better organized.
Yeah. So people who are watching this and live anywhere near Franklin County or in Franklin County, check out FCCPR. You have a website.
FCCPR.us.
.us.
Yes, which is a little different.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Yes, FCCPR.us. Well, this is quite amazing. I'm so happy to hear what you're doing, and to know that still you'll be out on the overpasses.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, again, this is going to be discussed with the whole network.
Yes.
It would probably be changing to like maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which days of the week. It's going to get colder,
dark.
all of that
And
good
darker.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the energy's there and growing.
It's
growing
certainly is.
and growing.
And I think we're not at a place yet. I think when I say the royal we, that the national definitive actions aren't happening yet. But I think what's happening is what we're doing here, what you are doing here in Franklin County, really nurturing community and supporting one another in taking stands on these very important life evolving issues.
Yeah.
There was a meeting after the No Kings Day, which was really Indivisible/1 Million Rising. And they had a meeting, I think, on Tuesday.
Yes.
And, I was eager to say, okay, what do you want us to do next? And it wasn't super strong. They had some ideas, but 2 of the things that we can continue doing is the signs for solidarity. They want these posted all over businesses all over the country. And the signs, there's 3 different signs. The one we chose is it says, "We stand with immigrant families." And so we're going to businesses all throughout Franklin County. The Montague people said they'd be willing to take ours. They took 70 of the posters. So they're putting them up in businesses. There's another sign that says, don't quote me, but it's like no entry. This is a private place. ICE is not allowed to enter a place that says it's private. Whether they'll honor that or not, I can't say for sure, but those are going on all over. And Avello came up in the 1 Million Rising because it's a national airline.
Yes, yeah.
So we've got more to do.
Yes.
Which is what we want. We want more to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't talked about, and maybe we're running out of time, but is around electoral work. So there are groups out there that's all they do is electoral work. You've referenced one of them. There are other groups who want nothing to do with elections. There's been debates on the left, can the Democratic Party be reformed or pushed to the left? Some people think yes, some people think no.
Yes.
And we made a decision early on, we're not entering that debate. We're not, we're a bigger tent than that, and that we don't have to have a definitive answer on that. And so I think knowing when we need to jump in, so for instance, around Gaza and Israel, we haven't done much, but we should. That's not a place to shy away from taking powerful positions. But the thing about the Democratic Party, it's been interesting that we have not really been pushed to take a position there, and I think that's good.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting asking about that because that was the other task force you had, the other working group, is your peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you say about that?
It's time to pay attention to that. Yeah. We're a bit overwhelmed. We need more people.
Oh yeah,
but it's certainly very, very definitely on our list.
Yeah. 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 One of my favorite slogans is the opposite of war is not peace. The opposite of war is creativity. And I like that because, I mean, and I hear the things you did. Even, I love that little thing you all did at the county fair, that that you brought in culture and play, and it was very creative. And I think that this is the time. Americans, listen up. This is the time to tap into your creative juices.
Yes. We also had a float kind of a float in the parade. Meaning we had a pickup truck and we had people with signs and so forth. And we got tremendous
It was
support
fun. I got to hold the banner with Doug. And
applause from
lots
people
of
lining the streets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are so many of us across the board who are worried, who are concerned, and because there's so much push for doing it yourself, in our culture, to say, well, no, you don't have to do it yourself. We can do it together. That really invitation to people to don't be afraid. I have a friend, one of our old raging grannies, who talked about her mother, who used to sit at home and throw socks at the television.
I had a mother like that too.
So you don't have to sit home and throw socks at the television.
Yeah.
You can come out and join us. There's a vigil. There are vigils all over the the country, actually.
Yeah.
To find one of those, to find people you could stand with, or because I think that back to the whole peace issue. There's so many dimensions to that.
Yes, there is.
And again, it becomes controversial. But I think you're not afraid of controversy.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
And and I think to not align ourselves to a party, or the Democratic Party, but to say, all right, so let's see what you're going to do, and then and we'll see what happens. And this will play for some time. So I don't know, this coming week, this big election week,
Right, New York.
coming up in New York.
Yeah.
That I think Mandani will certainly give people a reminder of what we can do.
Right.
That we don't have to. That we can bring our visions to life.
Yeah. And back to Bernie again. He's been traveling around the country and going to red states and getting huge crowds, and is demonstrating that a certain political perspective can become a majority perspective.
Yes. I mean, it's so much of what Bernie has said since the beginning is really kind of common sense.
Yeah.
It's a kind of thing that's good for us, for the people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, he's been saying that
And he
since
always
the
thinks
beginning.
about the people first.
Yes.
Right. And he talks about class.
Yes, and I mean, I look right now, and I was at a meeting recently, and I said, I think we've become a third world country. We don't allow that too much, but where's the middle class? Where and I think what'll happen as we get into these holiday seasons, with the lack of resources, and by that I mean people not having money that they used to have.
Even Halloween candy has gotten so much more expensive.
Right. Yeah. It's and to again, this is where it's so important to have a group like FCCPR or all these other groups that have sprung up to say, all right, you're not alone. You're not the only person who's going, what the heck am I paying this much for chocolate bars?
Right.
That it's not just me, and I think that's where our strength is, to make those connections, whether it's just talking to my neighbor who's bewildered.
Right.
And because I think that's part of what's happening, is that so many people are just overwhelmed.
Paki, thank you for making that reference to neighbor, because another
little program that we started, thanks to one of the people on my task force, is called 5 Friends and Neighbors. And the idea is that there are people that are not ready to stand out on the street. And they might be just your neighbor who says, what's going on? And you can have a conversation with them. And that we're asking them to take the next step, which would be a $5 a month donation to FCCPR, and we will then channel it to local immigration support groups. And then every month we give that person a little sort of review of what we accomplished the week before, or rather the month before. So it's not stand out there in the street, neighbor. You know, this is a person that says, I've never done this kind of thing before. So it's very personal. It's not oppressive. That once a month you would then go, and it could be a family member, you know, and see how we can just get all kinds of people, not just us fighters. You know, there's all kinds of people that want to participate, but they're not sure. They don't want to be too public. So we started that, and I think we've got a good 30 people that have joined and chose to do that as well.
And we haven't really advertised that very much.
It's on the immigration rights webpage, and we can do more on our newsletter.
We should put it in the newsletter.
We spoke to it. I'll speak to it when I go to the next thing I have to speak at.
That's like a variation on it. Put your money where your mouth could be.
Right. Well, I always say, give me your time or give me your money. That's the one I go with. You know, but it's somebody who's a little hesitant, and we have to respect that.
And I think that's a really good point, because I encounter a lot of people who are uncomfortable with the way things are, but have no history of doing anything about it, except throwing socks at the TV or having an extra
I used to call my
drink.
parents armchair activist. It doesn't count. They would rant. No, doesn't count.
So, so here you are doing this good work, and it sounds like it's the population, the membership is growing.
Yes.
And do you have other plans for other task forces, or are you happy with what you've got and what you're doing?
I think we have to be careful because we're all working very hard.
Yes.
There's 7 of us now. We have our wonderful Molly, and we're working really hard. So if somebody wants to line up and say, I'd like to, how about I'll be the one who tables in front of Foster's this week for you, that would be wonderful. So we can use more membership that are active. Certainly stay informed with us, but we need a next step. So we have to be careful not to burn ourselves out.
For the first time in several years, we're going to have a retreat of the leadership of the organization. And it's partly to answer those kind of questions, really.
Because I think, you know, the thing is, you know, it's where do we go from here? You know, and you've already really proven your mettle, if you will. You know, that, but you can't rest, as I used to say, you can't rest so hearty on your laurels.
I mean, I feel like I'm a little tiny pebble dropped into this massive bucket, but I can't not be a little tiny pebble.
Right. You know, so. And we did, all those pebbles make them really way down the bucket, so when they try to pick it up, they strain their backs.
Yes, there you go.
So you're going to have a retreat to look at this, but I want our viewers to hear again. It's FCCPR.us.
Correct. That's right.
Is your website.
That's right.
And
there you can do all sorts of things, but just the simplest is to sign up to be on our newsletter list. So we send out sporadic electronic newsletters.
Yes.
It used to be less frequently. It's much more frequent lately.
Well, you know, yes, because everything is speeding up, and everything is getting harder.
Right. And I haven't seen the numbers recently, but the percentage of people opening up our emails is quite high. You know, of course, there are lots of people who don't open them up. But
So what would you like our audience to hear that I haven't asked about?
I just have to speak from my own personal experience working with this group of people on the coordinating committee. When somebody asks me about it, the first thing I say is it's a group of people whose main purpose is not their ego in any manner. And it's such a pleasure to work with these people. Somebody comes up with an idea like this one came up with, let's have a contest of costumes and signs at the No Kings. Everybody goes, okay, I'll do this. No, I'll do this. I'll do this. And it gets done. And it's such a pleasure to work with people who are there to get it done in such a reciprocal, respectful way. That's what I'd want to add.
So initially you were drawn to the issues, and you stay because you've got a community of people you admire and identify with.
The day after the election, I was numb. The second day, I started to come alive, and I thought of three things. One was take care of yourself. Number two, seek community, and I knew exactly what that meant. That meant getting more involved with CPR than I had been. And the third for me was to have a single focus, because it's designed to make you nuts. It's designed to make you enabled. And so I said, I'm going to concentrate on immigration. I had already been committed to education. You can't take that away from me. But I'm not so keen on every one of these other things. I just can't. I think we have to take care of ourselves. And that, CPR did that for me.
Yeah. And you, Ferd?
Well, I would just say to people that there are many, many ways to turn your progressive values into progressive action. And FCCPR tries to be a vehicle that allows people to find their niche, to find community, and to get the satisfaction about making real change. And it's not always easy, but it's very satisfying. And I would just urge people to go to our website. And if you're passionate about something that you don't see there, write to us, and let's see if we can find a way to make it all work together.
Yeah. Oh, those are wonderful testimonials to why you joined, why you stay, and why you're proselytizing. Because I think it is important, and I think part of what why I wanted you here, is because there are people who are just in that place you were saying. They're not happy about the way things are, but I've never done that kind of action.
Yeah, right.
And to ask people to who haven't done anything to come to a protest might be too much.
Yep.
But that, because this is not part of our culture. We're not a protesting culture. Right. I mean, I can think we are sometimes, and then I realize, no.
Yeah. And to tap in, everyone's part of some communities, right? So I play pickleball. I've got a pickleball community. That group of people, there have been a couple of people who've been activists before, other people really not so much. But they came to No Kings. They're starting to do things.
I'm in a hiking group every Thursday, my hiking group.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a chance to be quiet in nature, but more and more it's going, Pixie, what should we do this weekend?
Yes.
They were at overpasses. I've never been in an overpass before.
Yes. And they're safe.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
An orange light just went on. I don't know if that means something.
I think maybe we're getting close to the end. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having Pixie Holbrook and Ferd Wolkin as my guest today, as your guest, because I think you've really brought a lot to this conversation, to the whole discourse. If we've got hope, it's listening to the two of you, that you're representing an organization that is really right out there, not just talking the talk, but walking the talk. And I particularly, I think what you've done with the airline is really something. I hadn't even heard about that.
Yeah, it just came out.
You know? Yeah. That, I've heard about, I saw it on the national news that I think in Chicago or some big city they were going after a fellow. But I didn't know we were doing it in our backyard, in our airport.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is good, and sometimes they used to say if you write a letter to your congressperson or senator, it means this much, but if you call them, it means so much more. Mm-hmm. And I think the showing up that so many people showed up at the airport is really speaks volumes, and that's where I think we remind the Avello or whoever it is, the Home Depot, or these other big corporations, they can be boycotted.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at Amazon, and as this is where we started, to say with Amazon, we really could live without it,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about what's happened to it, because if I had a few years in Washington, and I loved getting the Washington Post every morning. It was quite a treat. And now I get the Greenfield Recorder every morning.
So is there going to be an episode of this where we get to interview you and all the work you have done, my dear?
Yeah.
I'm happy to create a group of questions if you like.
Sure. But meanwhile, thank you both for giving us your time.
Well, thank you.
And for spreading, but mostly, I mean, thanks for this hour, but thank you for the hours and days and weeks and months that you've put into this. And we'll keep on keeping on.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
And so as I say, maybe it won't happen in our lifetimes, but what was it, 25 years of what?
The MCAS.
25 years
Yeah.
writing MCAS, 10 years of FCCPR,
Right. Yeah.
and growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm heartened, and all I can say is thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll keep on keeping on. Yes.
Good.